Basketball has its sixth man, the unsung hero who comes off the bench to help his team to victory. Football has its 12th man, an unseen but powerful energy that urges the home team forward. Now, Christianity has its 13th apostle, a faithful witness to the love, mercy, and truth of Jesus Christ. How about you? Will you be the 13th apostle?
Is it okay to criticize the Pope? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the 13th Apostle, where we explore the good, the beautiful, and the true of the Catholic faith and the Catholic Church. I'm Tom Caffrey with my co-host, Dan Duddy. Let's hear it, Dan.
Hi, Tom.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it. Have a good night, everybody. Have a good day.
You leave me with a lot to finish. Do you?
Are you posing that question to me?
I'm posing that question to everybody.
Yeah, you should pose it to everyone. I think it's a great question, and I believe that it's a question that really needs to be examined by every single one of us. And I think we need to examine it with the true soul that God has given us, and examine it from the stance, the posture of being true Christians when we do examine it and put God first. And the Eucharist first, and everything that we have known about the Catholic Church first. From that position, take those with us and hug them and hold on to them while we make that examination. And I think we need to understand that we're falling apart. We can't sit back, no matter what age we are, and pretend that something bad isn't happening. Something bad is happening. Okay, so in that examination, if you allow me to say so, the Pope is a person.
Well, let me just jump in and say why we're doing this. We received some feedback from our dear friend, brother in Christ, Pete, and we're always grateful for his contributions. Anything like that, and he means it in everything in a charitable way.
Sure.
He's looking out for the well-being of the church and for our souls. And he had he gave some feedback with some concern about how we talked about Pope Francis. So in respectful charity, we replied, and now we're going to take it a little further with this episode. So go ahead.
Yeah, and I love Peter. I've met Peter personally, and I truly do. Okay? But the question's been posed, and I am whoever the heck I am, so I need to respond to that. And I'm going to go back to what I just said, and I think we all do. And I think because things are changing so rapidly, and some might say no, they're not. We absolutely need to put our eyes on the Pope first as the preeminent superior and authority of the Church, the Holy Catholic Church. And I get all that. I truly do get all that, and I actually anguish over that. I truly do. But the Pope. I'm not going to say it right, and I know that.
Well, we'll just get more mail then.
Even if I did say it right, it'd be right to one person, wrong to another person, how it's heard. But the Pope is a person, and the Pope is a man. He's a child of God. And I'm just finding more and more, maybe because I'm 64 years old, and when I was 30 years old, I didn't have the same vision, same wisdom, same 2020 that I do today. But I think our Pope is rubbing elbows too much as a person. The Church isn't separated strong, and it's not that authority that it once was that we all went to and had confidence in. I don't know how many people out there would disagree with me on that. I'm not bashing the man. No way am I bashing Pope Francis. But I'm very disgruntled with where we're at when I'm looking for some authority. I'm looking for a voice. Maura said to me, Dan,
who's Maura?
Tonight, my wife.
Oh, okay.
Make sure tonight on the radio that, I'm not really into bashing Pope Francis. I said, Maura, I'm not bashing Pope Francis. But where there is silence, we can't fan the fire of silence with more silence. I'm a father. I'm a father of 8, one in heaven, and of those 8, they have grandchildren. If I'm not going to be some sort of a voice about the Catholic Church and the truth that needs to be shed upon these families, because nobody else is running with it. No one else is running with it. I mean, we do have our people out there that are concerned and are stepping up and are creating a voice about their concerns via or after their examinations. They are out there, but we need voices. We need voices right now. And in my research of a topic that he threw some topics out there, and I picked up life, right to life, pro-life, as opposed to population control, and the things that go with that.
Yeah, the audience is wondering, what has Dan so exercised about this Pope?
Well, I read a quote, and I couldn't believe who said it, because a guy in Walmart said the same thing to me when I had all my kids in the cart.
Well, what did he say?
I'm about to get there. So the quote is, it goes like this. The paragraph goes like this. At the same time, however, he, the Pope, said it's not true that to be a good Catholic, you have to breed like rabbits.
Gosh.
Tom, a man from Walmart said that to me.
He's a child of God, too.
Oh, Tom, that's the truth. You don't know how many comments I hear about having all these children. Oh, your poor wife. And I'd say, oh, I know, I promised her 9. You have to come up with, like, comments to battle comments in this world. But our Pope said that. And then he went on and he said, responsible parenthood requires that couples regulate the births of their children as church teaching allows. And he said, he cited the case of a woman he met who was pregnant with her 8th child after 7 cesarean sections. 7 C-sections of 8 children. Tom, I had to ask my wife, Maura, if she would let me say on the air that my wife, in fact, had 7 C-sections. And I was there for every single one of her births, our births. But I'll tell you what, when you see a woman have a C-section, it's her birth. And on the 4th C-section, child number 5, first one was natural vaginal. The doctor was in there and said, Maura, we could tie your tubes right now. And Maura said, if you touch me, I'll kill you. And we had 3 more.
Well, she said that charitably, right?
No, she didn't say it charitably. No. So, that's personal to me. And it's deeply personal that it comes from Catholic Pope. So, yeah.
All right, so you're not happy with the Pope for saying, making that comment.
Well, what's he doing with Jeffrey Sachs elbow to elbow to him at population control events? What's it called? Sustainable Development conferences. A day after the synod, the Amazon Synod on Mother Earth and Pachamama. Pachamama, who they relate to as the Blessed Mother in what's the word? For combined religions or faiths. I don't know the word that I was trying to get, but Pachamama is a goddess or whatever she is. I'm sorry to show any disrespect. Who is married to her own son? So this is a day after that, and I'm like, where are we going? Sorry, syncretic. Where are we going? So.
Well, I think
you could criticize me all you want, but I'm a child of God. I'm a man, and so there I am.
Well, Sachs is well known for his devotion to population control, building a network and funding partners for initiative by Pope Francis, the Global Education Pact. And to create a quote-unquote new humanism, along with Bill Gates of Microsoft fame, along with other wealthy guys from China, UNESCO, and Islamic Development Bank. So, there's a number of things we could list about our unhappiness at times with Pope Francis. I mean, one of the big ones for me is the 4 dubia cardinals, including Cardinal Raymond Burke, where they had legitimate questions about Pope Francis' Amoris Laetitia, and he never answered them. Actually, Pope Emeritus Benedict answered them in I don't know, I'll say a secondhand way. It was very interesting what Pope Benedict did. But anyway, that's the big problem for so many Catholics is the confusion that is sown by some of Pope Francis' actions and his words. And we need just the opposite. It's one thing to throw something out there and, okay, let's let a group hash it out and explore it and argue about it and whatnot. But not when you're talking about matters of faith and that are at least doctrine, if not dogma. So, and we talked about the difference. I mean, the dogma, the doctrine's coming from the church inspired, but the dogma is coming from God. That's divine revelation, which the church affirms. So these are important matters. And so whenever there's confusion, I mean, when Pope Francis talked about homosexual civil unions, there was understandably quite a bit of confusion about that because he left out other groups. He was just focusing on the same-sex sexuality group. So, I mean, it could be same-sex, and we talked about that. That had nothing to do with sexuality, sexual relationship, father-son living together and having a civil union for legal reasons. So I think it's very frustrating when there's confusion, when it's opaque, and we need clarity about these things. The point I made to our friend Pete was that there may still be division, and there always is division. I wrote to him and said that Christ said he did not come to unite but to divide, father against son, mother against daughter, and on and on. The difference is you can be clear and have division because, let's say, half Catholics don't like what he said and half Catholics love what he said. Or you can cause division because everybody's arguing about what did he say because it's not clear. So
not clear,
you're going to have division either way. We might as well have division about something that's clear and clearly stated.
Yes.
So we're not, as you said so well in the beginning, we're not criticizing the man. We're not criticizing the person. So it's never the personal. It's the message. It's the person's message, and teaching. So, I know one of the criticisms of Pope Francis is that several times, including to our United States Congress when he gave an address there, he made all sorts of references to secular matters and secular initiatives, social justice and whatnot. And of course, Catholic Church has a strong social justice teaching, Catholic social teaching. But that's always tied in with the personal morality and personal spirituality and holiness, directly tied to, of course, Jesus Christ. And in several of these addresses, not just in the U.S., but in different countries, he did not mention Jesus Christ. He did not mention God. He did not mention Lord. And he mentioned other people. So it's kind of like, maybe I'm thinking I'm the Pope. And okay, a lot of people don't want to hear Jesus Christ. They don't want to hear it. So I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it this secular way, this benign way. But it's going to be a nice social teaching address, which everybody's going to love, and so nobody's going to be divided.
Okay, so you started off somewhere a quarter of the way into what you just said. You made it clear once again. We're not here to bash Pope Francis, but we are men and we are women. We lived our life, and we've learned what's right and what's wrong throughout our life, and that the truth is the truth. It conquers all. It lives beyond all. Forever, for eternity, behind us and forward. Joshua 24:15. But if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourself this day whom you will serve, whether the gods with a small g your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates, or the gods of the Amorites, in whose land you are living. But as for me and my household, the Vatican, we will serve the Lord. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. So when we go back to, Sachs again, I'm finding that there's an involvement. Tom, you can't be the point person You can't be the person that clarifies unless you get out of the chaos and you stand outside of it and point to it and tell everybody what the parts are so they can be separated. And things are beginning to be separated. Watching cartoons where, a bunch of cartoon characters get in a fight at the same time. They're all spinning around, right? The cloud is there. And there's the wise guy on the outside, Bugs Bunny, with a carrot in his mouth. And he starts, he sees the whole thing, and then, he directs the whole thing when the whole thing breaks out, and he's got something funny to say. But it's because he saw it. He knew who the participants were in there, and he had something wise to say. I'm not saying Pope Francis is a wise guy, but I'm talking about a point person's got to remove him or herself from the chaos, and so that all in the chaos can look up at that point person, get the truth, and then they can all kind of settle down and find peace with each other. Where's the point person? Where's the point person if you're in the conference, as a regular participant with Jeffrey Sachs, talking about sustainable development, which really is population control and Planned Parenthood. And then we hear from Archbishop Jose Gomez while this is going on with really what's his name? Her name, Gates, Mrs. Gates, and Soros, and population control.
George Soros.
George Soros. Yeah. On the other side of town, there's Archbishop Jose Gomez saying, as we recognize Joe Biden Jr. As President of the United States, we congratulate him and acknowledge that he joins the late President John F. Kennedy as the second United States president to profess the Catholic faith.
So the question to ask Archbishop Gomez is the same question that Pilate asked Jesus: what is truth? Mm-hmm. Is he speaking the truth? Mm-hmm. Well, we know he's not.
Yeah.
And it's a terrible thing to hear, and it's a terrible thing to have to say that one of our spiritual leaders, our shepherds, is not speaking truth. First of all, he's not president-elect. There's been no certification of the vote.
True. Okay, but yeah, go ahead.
Secondly, to publicly witness that Joe Biden is a faithful Catholic is an outrage.
Yeah.
So what is truth? And that's the problem. We have so many. Pope Francis is a bishop of Rome. We have so many bishops who. It's almost as if we're hearing them ask, well, what is truth? And Pope Benedict, he wrote on this very often, spoke on this very often about truth, about the objective truth. And he did this in one of his last addresses. And it was all about, not the moral relativism of today, where your truth and my truth and his truth and her truth, there is this objective standard of truth, and of course it is Jesus Christ, and in the church that he founded.
Yeah.
But the leaders of that same church are calling so much of that into question. So
it's just the dynamic. I'm just asking, praying for Pope Francis, the man who he is, a wonderful, obviously wonderful human being, to step out of the pack and examine what's going on around him, and just understand that, he's talking about responsibility, to me and Maura. I said before we got the microphone, 1 million Mauras out there about, having, breeding like rabbits. I'm asking him to be responsible and understand that there's a dynamic going on here, and that we need the leadership. We need him to pull himself out, take a look at the whole picture and the chaos of what's going on around him, and be a voice for us. That's all. I mean, that's not really asking a lot. We're all looking for it, and maybe go back and retract.
Well, I don't think we're all looking for that.
On gay unions, just go back and retract.
Dan, I don't think we're all. You said we're all looking for that, and I disagree.
Oh, okay, that's a good point, because I did get off my track. We have probably less than 2 out of 10 Catholics going to Mass, right? And even the 2% that go, or 20% that are going to Mass, they don't even really understand what's going on around them too much, because I know that. I have conversations with people all the time, and they didn't even know about the scandal, and that's 1/100th of
what scandal?
Exactly.
No. What scandal?
The priest, the scandal of our priests.
The sex scandal.
The homosexual scandal?
Yeah, okay. I want to make sure.
The pedophile scandal?
Yep.
Okay.
Let me make sure.
Okay. All right. Thanks for clarifying that. So there are a lot of blind sheep who are, walking around calling themselves Catholics, and they're insidiously becoming less and less Catholic because the world is moving them in the wrong direction. That's why we have to examine. And I'm begging our people, sit back, take a deep breath, hold tight to the truths of our faith, hold tight to the Eucharist, the eyes of Jesus Christ, and remember that in your household you will serve the Lord, and then examine what's going on around you. I beg you to.
Well, for the longest time,
and not to bash the Pope, not to bash the Pope. That's not why I'm saying it. But go ahead, Tom.
The Church has had a long history of what's called what's known as triumphalism. You had the Church militant, us. The Church ascendant, the Church triumphant, but the triumphalism of the Church that was impacted by Pope Paul VI when he set aside and put into mothballs, so to speak, the papal tiara, and then you had there was leadership of in Christendom and defending Christendom, the whole concept of Christendom, which is usually thought of in the context of Europe, but that also ended with Pope Paul, because he gave back to the Turks the battle flag that the Christians captured in the Battle of Lepanto. So it's the making nice. It seems like it's the diminishment of some of the, I don't want to say pride. We can't say pride, but we're just, it's an honor. It's an honor of what our historical faith is, and it is a historical faith. We will have an end. We are in time, and over the time of our faith in 2,000 years, some bad, but a lot of mostly good has happened. And so when you start getting further and further away from the truths of the faith, from doctrine and dogma about us and the person of Jesus Christ and the demands that Christ makes, and the Christ who flipped tables, the Christ who talked much more about hell than about heaven.
Amen.
That are they getting so far away from it that they after a while you don't recognize the truth.
That's exactly right. It's multilateralism. That's what I learned from my studies coming to this episode, is Jeffrey Sachs, one of his greatest criticisms of Donald Trump was his failure to come into the fold of multilateralism, which I found to be really is just kind of collaborating and with, three or more, parties in an effort to come out of the funnel with some sort of unified whatever. But that's also known as giving yourself up, you're selling yourself out, shaving the edges off of who you are. It becomes an opaqueness of who you are. You no longer stand alone. Our church cannot support multilateralism. We can support unity, but we can't sell ourselves and get down into the hole and rub elbows to the point that we forget who we are. And I'm just afraid, with good reason, that that's what's happening to us.
Yeah, we're about ready to wrap it up. I think that we've gotten, and I was mentioning this earlier in a different way, that first and foremost is our call to holiness. The priest is supposed to lead us. They're our shepherds. The bishops are the ultimate shepherds in that, and not to get into the secular matters so much. There is Catholic social teaching, so they certainly can do that. But to when you get to the point where you start thinking that our works, what we do in our social teaching, that's where our salvation is. Well, then, where is Christ in that? Where is our holiness in that? Where, if it's just your works, then that's the heresy of Pelagianism, where you believe by your works you are going to save yourself, as opposed to the holiness and reverence and the morality of salvation by Christ.
Amen. It's dangerous. That's a great point.
All right.
Absolutely.
We got to wrap it up on that point. So, Danny, good discussion. We hope we conveyed our meaning to our audience, and especially Pete, that this is, as I said to a friend of mine, and I think I put this in my note to Pete, that when he was an ex-Catholic and he was chastising Pope Francis, I said, I love Pope Francis, but I don't love everything he does and don't love what he says, and sometimes it's worth criticizing, but always in a charitable way. So I'm going to say, God bless you, Danny. God bless our audience. And we're thankful to WQPHradio.org for their support, giving us this opportunity. So remember them. And go ahead. You got the last word, Dan.
Yeah, stay tuned, everyone, for the Angelus and the show that follows the Angelus immediately. Your prayer intentions with Peter and Jenny.
All right.
God bless you all. Let's pray for Pope Francis and our church.
Amen.
Thank you for listening to the 13th Apostle with Dan Duddy and Tom Caffrey. For more information on Dan, visit his website at www.danduddy.com or email dcduddy@gmail.com. Tom's website is faithpilgrims.com or email trcaffrey@faithpilgrims.com. How about you? Will you be the 13th Apostle?